Phew. I think that's it.
Sorry I was late.
Damn, boy.
A real beast.
Damn, boy, he's thick.
This is
Boy,
Bobot's
that's a
boss?
thick-ass boy.
What's up, Proxies? I'm Foxhole, and welcome to another video on the channel. Hope you enjoy. Alrighty, time for another topic of conversation right here on the channel. Hopefully you guys are doing good today. I'm doing alright. I just came back home from picking up my son, and I wanted to make this video about Zenless Zone Zero's HP inflation, a topic that has come around yet again. So, what has brought this conversation back to the table, and why do I want to talk about it? So, first and foremost, I was watching a video from Real Zook, and Guy's great, by the way. Guy is a great content creator. He really does his information very well, and I think he's 100% worth a subscribe and everything else. So, big shout outs to him and for bringing up this topic conversation. So, the video that I'm talking about is his video about St. Tontus is right about the HP inflation when it comes to Shiyu defense. We watched it on live stream last night. We looked at it, and very well done, great piece, and 100% I would say is accurate, but I do want to basically, I don't want to be this person, but I do want to butt in a little bit on this, because I think that there is a point that is missing that, like, I've explained this to several other content creators, especially today while driving to go pick up my son from his grandparents, that when it comes down to it, and we're talking about HP inflation and a certain content creator out there's thought process around it that surrounds Zenless Zone Zero, the issue around it is not the fact that Zenless Zone Zero does or doesn't have HP inflation. It is the question whether or not is it a problem, and that is what I want to discuss. So yeah, so diving into this conversation of topic, I will say like this: I started ZZZ back 2 months ago because of all these talks about HP inflation, my asthma shield mechanic, doom posting in general for Zenless Zone Zero, right? A lot of the statements back when I started, and was about, oh my gosh, the ZZZ HP inflation is through the roof. It's like Honkai Star Rail, that the game's cooked, that the game is completely dog shit, when it comes in terms of balancing, blah, blah, blah. And, I wanted to get my own opinion. I came into the game. Now, I've also done different types of research, and one of the research that I did is I wanted to find out about the HP inflation. This led me into a rabbit hole, and I think a lot of you, when you're really interested in something and you do research about it, you understand what I'm going to get at when we talk about getting into the rabbit hole. So when it comes to Zenless Zone Zero, and especially with HP inflation, there has been several conversations from Reddit postings that I found 3 months ago, 4 months ago, 5 months ago. There has been many different other content creators on YouTube that has discussed about HP inflation. And the biggest consensus from all of this information is that it's been known that ZZZ has HP inflation. Okay? However, there is several different bits of information. There are several different bits coming from Reddit, coming from content creators, that explains that while ZZZ has HP inflation, it's also that there's mechanics in the game that deals with this that makes HP inflation right now not an issue. So a lot of the doom posting, a lot of the conversations that are going on around Zenless Zone Zero is practically people that's worried 6 months from now, worried of a year from now, that, oh no, Zenless Zone Zero is going to turn out to be Honkai Star Rail. So instead of enjoying the game, instead of playing the game right now at the present time, their minds are wandering further into the future, and it's basically making it difficult for them to enjoy the game. That's the way I take it. So let's take some time and let's take a look at some information here. First part of the information that I want to go ahead and talk about is Miyabi's kit, particularly her additional ability, Bask and Frost. If we take a look right here, when she gets into her stance, she will ignore 30% of the target's ice resistance. This is what is being brought up right now, and it makes perfect sense to where if we're going to be going fight an enemy that has a 20% resistance against ice, we would have then a negative 10% of damage that we're going to be doing on top, just because we're using the damage right here, the ignore of the 30% of the target's ice resistance. I completely understand this. I completely get this. But when I take a look at some other information, which I'll pop open right here, that with Brute, for example, which is the enemy in the critical node right now, we can already establish that with Miyabi, we're going to go ahead and this is no longer going to exist. If anything, this will be a minus 10%. But we still have an anomaly resistance, meaning that when it comes to Miyabi, she is not going to be building up anomaly. She's going to have a 20% resistance in building up anomaly, which, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below, but I'm pretty sure that does in general hurt Miyabi. Okay? That still exists. We're also going to have it to when Miyabi is doing damage and everything else, that there's going to be still a 20% resistance to daze, making it longer to go ahead and daze the enemy, making it just a little bit harder, you know. So looking at this information, which this comes clearly right here from Hawkshin, right here, which gives us the information right here. So you can see we are on the critical node. This is the current one, 7th floor. We can also see that the base HP that they have set for it probably did increase. It is right here at what? 13,052,094. Understandable. All this completely understandable. There is HP inflation. The problem here is that we still have a problem here, and we still have a problem here, which would hurt Miyabi's kit. This won't, but this will. Looking back into the game real quick and going to the Shiyu defense.
Eradicate all evil.
How does this prove that HP inflation is a problem? So what I'm getting at this is that we know that it exists. We know that there's many different people out there, different content creators that has been stating that HP inflation exists, but there's mechanics in the game. There's different things that developers have done in the game to help reduce it, so that way it's not that big of a problem. So the better you play, you impair, you can break the miasma shield, you have enemy weaknesses. All these are different factors. Way I look at it is, and my problem here is that we could take a look at the critical node 7 frontier. We could see that agent's days dealt will be increased by 10%. Ultimate damage will increase by 30%. And when enemies are stunned, the whole squad sheer damage increases by 15% and crit damage increases by 20% for 25 seconds. Repeated triggers reset on duration. First part here for Miyabi's team is that this right here does not exist. This buff does not help her. This would help, I believe. I believe that this part right here would help. This would help her, so that 20% that we're getting reduced is actually going to be down to 10%, and the ultimate is going to be 30%. Now, going back to Miyabi really quickly, bear with me. I want to double check something.
Eradicate all evil.
If I look at the alt, this is not going to be in any which way, shape, form ignoring the ice resistance by a 30% or so. Only holding down and getting into the stance will be doing this.
This is the path I follow.
this here does not prove to me that HP inflation is an issue, because even the devs are giving you a clear buff, which is more catered to the newer units. Okay, so if you still don't have the newer units and this buff is not catering, we also have enemy weakness, which is fire and physical. I'm questioning right here is all you've done is you've come into this knowing that HP inflation exists, put on a team that would be much harder against this side, and claiming that HP inflation is a problem. Instead of honestly doing this, hitting a swap button and playing the opposite sides, to which would have been more favorable. We already know HP inflation exists. That's not any which way, shape, form the question that's being asked. The question I'm asking here is, how is it determining that HP inflation is a problem? Just because they increase the health value of an enemy boss, just because of that reason right there, and Miyabi now cannot do a sub 2 minute time. She's doing a sub minute 225, which I believe is what the time was for St. Thomas. That's still a good time. You still had more enough time to clear both sides, but that doesn't prove that HP inflation is an issue. So that's what I wanted to get at. Like I said, for someone like Real Zook, like, this is not, any which way, shape, form to be a hateful video to come at you or anything and discredit you or anything. I 100% agree with your video. I believe it. I just want to make the point that I don't believe we're talking about that HP inflation exists. We're asking the question, how is it a problem? Especially when the devs are giving you a buff, giving you ability to use other characters that are weak against, like fire and physical. And it's clearly telling you that, look, you're going to have more of an issue if you use a character or team that's based on ice and electric. That's just in general what I'm coming to a conclusion with. So leave me your thoughts down below, your comments. What do you think is the actual question, which is the actual problem? Because again, correct me if I'm wrong, we all know that HP inflation exists. But once again, is it a problem? With all the mechanics and everything else that's been established, especially like with the miasma shield. It increases technically the HP of the enemy by adding a shield on top of it, but yet you're doing stun damage at the same time you're depleting it. And then when the shield is depleted, you get a mechanic which gives you full energy back, so that way you can deal harder damage. And typically by the time you're done destroying the shield, the enemy is close to being stunned, it seems like most of the time anyway. So yeah, my only issue here in ZZZ is that a lot of people are trying to doom post it. It seems like a lot of people are trying to go ahead and state that it's reaching the levels of Honkai Star Rail. I don't see it at this time. Maybe there's some misinformation that I'm not understanding. Maybe there's some miscommunication, really. And if you don't mind and you have that information, we do live streams on this stream. Come present it to me if you see it. Leave that down in the comment section below. And until next time, guys, keep it classy, keep it jazzy, and always keep it real. And I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.